bump flakes. So what I'm going to do is just plug flakes into color. Then I'm going to go over to 3D texture and choose, let's see, 3D texture and choose veins. Okay. Again, two different procedurals, but because they line up, let's see what happens. I'm going to plug this into bump. Okay, I'm just going to get these out of the way because we don't need them right now. And let's see what happens. Look at this. We have well, let's see it without the flakes. We have the bump happening from the veins, but because of the flakes, we're getting the various shades on our color. But that is lining up perfect with the veins, which is just too cool. So what I'm going to do is just kind of change this up a bit. Let's change the width maybe a little bit, and let's change the bump amplitude. I'm just going to tone that down some. And for scale, instead of changing this here, knowing that these need to line up, one thing that you might do, let's just see a quick render first. Say we go, yep, that's what I want. I'm getting the various shades. I'm getting the bump that I want. What you might think about doing is taking and going over to add node constant vector, okay, which allows us to do the XYZ scale, and plug that into scale into both of these nodes. Knowing that we really want to keep these the same size, what that's going to allow me to do is say, well, I want a smaller size on this, so I'm going to go 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. Not that these all have to be the same, but now both of the scales of these were changed because they're being driven by that one node. And so now I know for a fact that the two are going to line up, which works out pretty well. So let's just kind of dress this up a little bit. I am going to go ahead and just get rid of these nodes. We've used them. So let's kind of build this up a little bit. I want to add some more bump, so I'm going to go over to 3D texture and let's try crumple. Okay, knowing that crumple also will line up, but I'm just going to feed bump into bump and then this bump into this bump so that I'm taking advantage of both of these bumps. And with crumple, I like using a negative value, so I'm going to try negative 50. Okay, and let's take a look at this. Okay, so we get I'm just trying to dress up these little stones a bit. So I've got some crumple on that, and then let's do something to fix the fact that these lines are really straight, and maybe we don't want them to be really straight. So what I'll do is go over and let's just add something like, you can do turbulent noise, turbulence. You can actually use anything. I'm just going to use turbulence and see what this does for us. So let's say that the turbulence, I'm going to adjust some of the values. So for scale, I'm going to go down a little bit. Let's just try 0.5. I can always adjust this. For bump amp, I am going to go with a very low value because that is going to be controlling kind of how we're going to break up those straight lines. So I'm going to start with something like 5. And for contrast, I'm just going to jump that up a bit. And let's see what this looks like, because we can always go and change it. So I'm going to take this and feed the bump into position, and we could feed the bump from flakes if we want over to the position here. Okay, and so let's do a render. Okay, let's compare because there's a big difference going on here. Let's look at say this area right here. I want you to look at the lines as I go page up to look at the old render and page down to look at the new render, and see how we're breaking up that pattern so that it's not so perfectly straight edge. Now you might like the straight edge, but we have the ability, and we can adjust this all we want. So one last thing to just dress this up, and then I think we'll have a pretty good idea of some of the usefulness of the flakes procedural. So I'm just going to add a gradient. Okay. And let's use flakes as the input like we did before and plug this into here. And then I'm just going to change this color. Let's go with this dark green. Let's go with a yellow muted green. Okay, something like that. And then I'm just going to kind of lighten that up some. Okay. And let's try this setup. Okay, So now we start getting some kind of lizard scales or something like that. And again, I can always go in and go to the specular channel with the flakes, so that I can get some spec values on there that is going to line up with the other node. So remember that Flakes is based off of the same procedural texture that's being used in car paint. So you're going to want to check out that car paint video so you can see how useful it is there, because it's actually a really amazing material node to do quick like metallic surfaces, especially for cars, hence the name car paint. But then also knowing, now that we know, thanks for me at least, thanks James Wilmot, now that we know that Flakes lines up perfectly with veins, crumple, crackle, and crust, man, there's so many different things we can do. Just making sure that you keep the scale the same for Flakes as with the others. And again, quick little tip on that is just use this little vector constant so that we can change all of them at once right here. So quick look at Flakes in Lightwave.